Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen. With me today is longtime listener, poet laureate, and Taya Master Anne-Marie Young. This is your Daily Dose of Happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today. And just in case you were hiding under a rock over the last week or two when we did our show last week about quantum physics, just wanted to let you know it's safe to come out because we're going to talk about it again. Or, well, depending on your point of view, you may want to go under the rock again. I mean, it just depends which way you're coming at this thing. But as we were kind of chatting about this before we got started, and the thought that goes through my mind, and I've mentioned it to you guys before, yes, like Dr. Kelly was pointing out to us, there is this global enlightenment going on right now, and the kind of add-on that I tack onto the end of it is, and it's going on whether you like it or not. So hide under the rock, don't hide under the rock. It doesn't make any difference. It's going to happen anyway. Maybe it'll help shield your eyes a little bit if you're under the rock. I don't know. I'm going to consider all viewpoints on this one. But we're going to consider some more viewpoints too with Dr. Kelly Bohnhoff, who is joining us today to talk about many things, including her book, What is Going On with My Family? That's a question a lot of people ask, I'm sure. We'll get to that in a moment. First of all, Dr. Kelly, welcome. And tell people what town we love this part. Tell people what town in Ohio you're connecting from today. This is great.
Yeah, so I'm in Loveland, Ohio.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I love that.
Couldn't get a better name.
Right?
That's right.
Yeah, it's a good name. It's a great name. So, Dr. Kelly, tell us a bit about yourself, and I'm sure there's a whole story that goes up to the point where you decided to write your book. Give us the highlights and the lowlights of that.
Oh, bumper sticker. Okay, here it comes. So my family and I decided to parachute in. So two parents, age of 19, got married, and then I'm the oldest of four, and I have had three siblings. And what we had decided to do, which none of us remembered, was to come in and heal trauma that had been echoing for generations. But when I landed, I, as the firstborn, had three things that were impressed upon me at the beginning. The first was, I just really wanted to keep my mother healthy. The second was, I wanted to keep my father happy. And the third one was, I wanted to keep my siblings safe. So I talk about this in the book as us landing in the Shark Tank of energy. So we were all kind of entranced and entrained and enmeshed and entangled and then entrapped in our mental body to be able to navigate the world in a very interesting way. And unbeknownst to me, as the trauma that occurred happened really within the womb for me. So my mother was already traumatized. And so my initial impressions of life were one that I wasn't safe, I wasn't secure, and I didn't quite know what was going on. And so my sacred nature, the nature that feels worthy of love, devotion, and reverence, went quiet. And that does happen in children who land in adversity, who kind of choose to heal that particular wound. And so unbeknownst to me, my energy was one of low or heavy vibration. And I didn't realize that I had also created an opportunity to heal child sex trafficking. Now, this was an interesting experience, as you can imagine it. So I ended up going at age 10 over to an overnight. And I was so excited to kind of get away from the responsibility of kind of keeping the family grooved out. And my inner guidance system, my intuition was like, do not go over there. Okay. But I didn't listen. I wanted to go. I wanted to have an experience. And through lots of healing, I've been able to understand how all that kind of came together. But in that one night, I was now entrapped in an experience in a web of dark energy. And for those who were on that journey with me, whether they played the role of what I call the villain, or my friends that were at that overnight, or parents, or whatever it was, that I understood that it was something much later. I understood that it was something that we all had collectively come into heal, which is an interesting idea. And then as I moved into other experiences in my later teenage years, and then into my early adulthood, whatever, I was still echoing a lot of heavy energy, right? And so I'm in my 60s now, I'm a grandmother, and I was at age 57, I was just in this enormous amount of physical, emotional, mental pain. My guidance had been, whispering in my ear, and then they'd been tapping me on the shoulder. Then they'd been hip checking me, right? Then they'd been, kind of smacking me in the face. And that snooze button, the cosmic snooze button that we all hit, not right now. I'm not, I'm not ready to do it right now. They moved it completely out of the way. And when I got in so much pain that I just didn't even want to be here anymore, I did something I'd never done. I went to acupuncture to alleviate the pain. And when I did that, it opened all the meridians and all the energy centers of my body. See, I didn't know I was energy. And through that process, I call myself a recovering caterpillar. I went into the chrysalis for 3 years to uncover who I was, uncover what all of it was about. And the book was born as a result of my moving through that chrysalis and turbulence into the butterfly, and now being able to share what I learned. And that's why it's called What is Going On with My Family.
I love the allusion to the caterpillar too. I mean, just the whole idea of a caterpillar, first of all, being kind of in denial. That was a cool allusion right there. And then, of course, the caterpillar going into the chrysalis, becoming the butterfly, and so on and so forth. Everybody else knows that part too. But the idea that it's a starting point rather than an end point, because we'll often tend to think of those things as end points, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So our family of origin, our biological family, is the beginning of the journey, not the destination. And I think that is one of there are many misconceptions, but the very first one is we are holding so much heavy energy from our parent wounds, from our sibling wounds, from whatever the wounds were. And the root cause of really all of the unease in our mental and the unease in our physical, the root cause is the disharmony in our energy centers. And the minute that science and spirituality, right, they're dancing toward each other. And once they become reacquainted with one another, now we have a holistic shift in paradigm in every system of life, including the family system. And that's where the echoes of ancient lineages and traumas have come in. And we're just here in this beautiful space now, balancing, healing the ancestral trauma, balancing the karma. Nice. Unlocking the wisdom, resilience, and genius of each person and the family as a unit, because the family as a unit has genius. And then we remember our sacred nature. Now, once that is completed, we have created and co-created an entirely new way of being in the world and a new world. So that's why I'm really excited about this more empowering narrative around families, because as someone who studied psychology and family therapy and nursing and all that, we have a very disempowered way of talking about our families. They're toxic, they're crazy, they're dysfunctional, they're broken, they are unworthy, right? That's baloney. That's BS, man. That is belief system. So I'm pretty excited about just giving everyone an opportunity, if they choose, to consider the possibility that their family isn't who they think they are. Their family and themselves. Oh no, the most brilliant, brave, and beautiful souls. Talk about ambitious souls coming in here. What did we want to do? We wanted to exponentially grow through the healing of trauma, balancing the karma, unlocking our hidden power, remembering what is sacred as humanity. Woo! Sign me up. Did someone just tell me that I get to pop down with the golden ticket of all the souls in all of the world and all of the billions of places? We're the ones. Walt is here, and Maria's here, Dr. Kelly's here. And with our genius, we co-create what we want to experience. Oh, wow. Yeah, coach. Put me in, coach. Put me in. And so that's really what we're doing here. And I apologize. I'm adjusting my camera. It keeps moving on me, and I feel like I have to get smaller and smaller. So if you notice I'm messing with this external camera, just please give me some grace. I don't know what's going on. But
don't worry about it. Most of our 96, 97% of our listeners are listeners only. They don't see the video, so you're safe with them. It's just the 3%.
I love that. Okay, well then I just, my caterpillarness was going like this. But what I wanted to say was I am so grateful to be awakened in the 3-dimensional, 4th-dimensional world, because now that I'm completely healed, now I'm like, whoa. We did not learn this in kindergarten. Whoa. We've got some systems that are going to, align, awaken, and ascend for ourselves, our children, our grandchildren, great-grandchildren, whatever. So anyway, I'm super excited to be in the world now. But before, not so much.
Yeah.
Well, it's understandable. I mean, it's not like we were given a manual when we arrived. Like, okay, this is the way the universe is organized. I don't know about you. I didn't get that manual till I was 55, and even then, it was in a language I didn't understand. So,
You got a manual?
I got a manual.
Yeah.
It's called LOA Today. That was my manual.
LOA Today. Yeah. So Walt, when I was trying to figure out, well, what was my mission? What was I doing? The first thing I asked when I started to believe in guidance, and because I'm a scientist, I'm like, this is baloney. What is this spirituality stuff? I didn't know anything about it. I mean, I came from zero to wherever I am right now very quickly, as we're moving quickly. But the very first thing I said was, if this is real, I want to see my contract, because my signature better be on the bottom of the contract where I signed up for the life of adversity as a little girl, the trafficking, the fill in the blank of a lot of other things that are in the book. I'm like, now, in what mind would that make sense to anyone, for a child, any child, anywhere, anytime, to go through that? Now, our human mind says that's ridiculous. The suffering's ridiculous. I can't believe it. And we begin to judge and blame and do all that stuff we learn how to do.
Right.
From the soul's perspective, though, my soul said, it's time to heal ancestral trauma in your mother and father's line because we had a lot of sexual trauma in our lines. And it's also important, since you have a little karma around, you didn't heal yourself in the other trafficking lifetimes, you would like to heal this one in this lifetime. Now, from the soul's perspective, everyone around me was cheering me on to get through that process, because now, guess what I found out, guys? The minute we heal whatever our traumas are and the karma and the balancing, we hold energetic healing keys. So now anyone that we walk by, anyone who comes into our existence, any child that walks up to me whose little lights aren't on anymore in their eyes, I hold energetically a little healing key that I didn't realize I could create, or that I could share with anyone in their subconscious, so they could just walk by me in the grocery store, may have had that experience, and now have a little bit more energy to heal. Isn't that cool? We're actually holding the healing keys within ourselves as we heal whatever the themes are.
It's
now, that's magic, man. That's miracle. That's mystery. And now I get excited about going to the grocery store, right?
It's also how we actually practice the experience of having it that I think makes the impact, because we don't really believe it at first, right?
No.
I mean, Anne-Marie, when was the last time that you can remember, and it probably wasn't all that long ago, where you didn't believe you had any kind of control like that? I know for myself, it was probably within the last 7 or 8 years that was the last time I really did believe I had absolutely no control at all. How about for you?
Right.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Probably only like the last couple of years, sometimes even recently, things pop in, you think, I've got to control over it. And actually, no, yes, I have. You can change your whole concept. But yeah, years ago, I had no idea. It was a horrible place to be. It was not fun at all. And I did not enjoy it.
So when we're coming out of it, it's almost like, I think about my cat, for instance. My cat, if he's in an environment he doesn't really know very well, he'll very cautiously creep around, and he'll look around corners, and he'll see something. He'll kind of touch it with his paw and pull his paw away. He's very tentatively feeling his way through the environment. The same kind of thing happens with this. As we're the very first time we're exposed to this idea that we actually have power we didn't know about, we just very, very, very tentatively try it a little bit. We don't get a result. Oh, good. Then it didn't really work. So now I'm justified in saying I don't have any power. But isn't that the way we do it, though? We doubt because we've had so much experience doubting. We're very good at the doubting. And as a result, it becomes a very slow process of kind of unraveling or unlearning, depending on how you want to look at it.
Yeah, so we're healing this energy of doubt. We're healing the energy of blame. We're healing the energy of judgment. We're healing the energy. And so when we really now look at it as energy, we can kind of, if you think of it, all the world's a stage. And when I was looking at my own family's journey and what can I figure out about the six of us, right? Because I'm really now about the energy of the family dynamics and what the family is trying to heal. Well, when it would get too close, I'm still on stage standing next to my mom, right? I've got a huge mother wound. Well, now I got to pull myself into the first row of the audience. Then I imagine myself, it's still too close. I'm going to put myself in the back row of the audience. And now I'm going to look at it and observe it. Again, physics. You know, is she a wave? Is she a particle? What is she, what is she doing? And if it's still too close and I'm still feeling like things are still pretty heavy here, I'm still really working through this mother thing, then I throw myself in the balcony. And what I realized I was doing with this visualization through my inner guidance was I was able to move into this observer effect. See, I'm going to bring the quantum physics in as a compassionate witness to the unfolding and exploration of every person in my family, my mom, my dad, myself, and my three siblings. And what was the storyline? What was the timeline? What was the world line? The world line is where we land. So I'm in Loveland, Ohio, for instance. Where do we land in culture? Where do we land in the world? Where do we land, right? So I began to look at it from this beautiful, expanded, compassionate witness rather than from just my human mind and my emotional mind. Now, I have spent decades in therapy. I have taken so much medication to try and just live life. I had done that. And I was able through a period of time, taper off all medicine, just move through the energetic web of all of that. And I'm medication free. I'm completely healed. I have no pain, right? And so when you look at that from the perspective of a family, I was super excited to do it for me. But what did this particular shift for me, which is this sacred healing of individual and family trauma. So the world is a shift show right now. We're in a shift show, right? Because we're shifting. We're doing the sacred healing of individual family trauma, whether we want to or not. So the minute my energy began to heal because of you know what I'm going to say, Walt? You know what I'm going to say about quantum entanglement? The minute that my energy began to shift in every moment, it just rippled straight into the marriage. It rippled into the relationships with my children and my grandchildren. It rippled into the generations of my parents and nephews and nieces and whatever on both sides, my husband and I. And all of a sudden, and we intentionally, my husband and I turned back into the direction of our families. We couldn't move far away. There wasn't another place on that. We tried to get as far away from our families as possible geographically. Right? Because just to be in the room was painful. But my husband and I, through our own couple healing, but we said, we're going to go back in. We're going to go back into the actual energy of my family line and his family line. And we're going to, as we were healing over the last 3.5 years, what we've noticed is without saying a word, staying in our own lane, knowing thyself, not asking for them to change, to be fixed, to be saved. I sat. It was miraculous what happened. Now, was it messy? Hell yeah, it was messy. It was super messy. But as we were able to sit within the messy energy, we were able to alchemize, transmute, and let go. And now we hardly recognize being with our families. It's a night and day difference. So this is why the way the book is written is the way it is because I've personally experienced it. We can heal ourselves, the people we love, our families, and microcosm. We can heal all of the trauma and the karma if we want to. Not everyone does.
Just as an aside, I'm kind of curious. It's not really all that important, but did you decide that you were a wave or a particle? I mean, you mentioned you were trying to figure out which one it was. I'm just kind of curious what the conclusion was. Did you decide one way or the other?
I knew you were going to ask that. And here's the thing. I am both.
You're both, right?
I am both. I am both a beautiful wave and a beautiful particle. And if the particle is sitting there in front of another particle, then does that particle want to look to the other particle and go, what's going on with you? What's your problem? Are you going to be ugly today? What are we doing? You know? And so now, but if I sit as a wave, if I just imagine myself as the wave of energy, right? And the other person, and I'm not saying a thing, because people sitting in silence, try this with anybody. You sit there and you don't say anything for a minute. Just, they're going to start to squirm. They're looking at you like, what's happening right now? And you're like, I'm being a wave.
I'm being a wave. We're doing the wave.
I'm doing the wave. I'm doing the wave. And the other thing I do with children now, which is so interesting, just because I'm so authentic, thank God I found my authenticity. Children will come up to me. This has been my whole life. But little children will look at me and I'll go, hey, babe, welcome to Earth. Welcome to Earth. And families or people will do one of two things. They will either stroll fast away from me, like, whoa, what is she doing? What is she saying? Or more times than not right now, they're like, yeah, welcome us all to Earth. And by the way, if no one's welcomed the two of you, welcome to Earth.
Thank you.
There was a time when I was wondering if I really was welcome, so it's nice to hear, actually.
That's right. That's right. Because there are people who believe, I love this lens of spirituality because it's so interesting to me. I just happen to see patterns, but I notice people talk about our experiences as an experiment or a school or all the world's a stage or in a simulation or a game. Or one of my favorites perspectives is the prison planet. Now I'm like, oh, wait a minute. We've got energy. It's the Matrix as a documentary. That's interesting. Then there's also this perspective of we're just one and done. We're just here for one and then we're done. And all of those perspectives I'm taking in and I'm like, oh, these are so cool because everyone uniquely expresses as life, infinite intelligence, pure love, and sacred energy. Sure. So now everyone's learning and moving their particle waveness through their themes, through their experiences. And some of them love to do it through the idea of prison planet. And some of them love to do it through the idea of school. And some of us love to do it through the idea of an experiment or a play or a game. Whatever, man. Let's sit down, have some popcorn and talk about it because I love that there are so many ways that the hero's journey unfolds for people. Love it.
Okay, Anne-Marie, so I got to ask you a couple of questions here. First question is, because, well, I'm trying to ask a question also to get you more involved in the conversation, because you do have a tendency to kind of go in the background sometimes. So first question is, what's your first takeaway as you're hearing all this? Because, I mean, I'm sure it's resonating. What way is it resonating?
Oh, it's absolutely resonating. Do you know what? I completely felt like I was an alien when I was younger. I just didn't. I still don't to some degree. Feel that this is my home. This planet is just bonkers to me sometimes.
It is. Well, there's a good reason for that.
But I did witness a lot of absolute just behavior that I didn't understand when I was younger, and that was from the adults, and that was the family trauma. So I totally relate to that. And then when I got married, even my wedding was a fiasco with family. It was just a nightmare. And then that was really upsetting for both me and my husband, like going into our marriage like this. So I studied counseling and I did this whole messy thing. I was trying to like work out my family and it was just a big mess. And then I just drew a brick wall and I was like, that stops there. And then there was us. And then we will leave that behind and we will create a fresh start. So this has really resonated with me because I remember that so clearly. It was just like, no, that can't continue. I can't go forward in this new family that I've just created with this mess. So yeah, I totally relate to this. And it's you listen to other people's perspectives on, oh, well, so-and-so, Uncle so-and-so did this and Auntie so-and-so did that. And I don't agree with them. And so-and-so's not talking to so-and-so. But when you take yourself out of that drama and you view it from your own perspective and these people as human beings, and you actually see a beautiful side of them and you see a different side to what that's clearing that trauma. That is appreciating whatever their journey is. And people have their perspectives. You don't have to be sucked into it.
No.
Which is a very relief-filled experience to have at that point, because it's such a different experience from what you had before, right?
Yeah, it's completely different. I view things, I love my family dearly, and hopefully, before it's, I didn't speak to my parents for ages, but I love them dearly now, and I love my brother dearly, and mad uncles across the world. I love them more than anything. But I'm not being dragged into other people's messes of that, because, sometimes I get put into an awkward position, but that's not my problem.
When Dr. Kelly was talking about perspectives, of course, I'm sure you knew that was resonating with me, because I talk about that a lot here on the show, just how much I love the different perspectives that we've been exposed to just by having so many guests on the show, not to mention our own perspectives that we all bring each time that we're talking about stuff. But what I particularly like about perspectives and what perspectives have to teach us is the ability of a perspective that is so far away from our own to take us into a thought pattern and a belief structure we've never considered before. That has a lot of power to it. And Dr. Kelly, when you were talking about the ability to energetically heal people, that's what I was thinking about. I was thinking about how if we are shifting the way that we interact with others and thereby putting out different vibes, so to speak, to use the vernacular, we vibe, as we put out that new vibe, we're also putting out to not only to those people, but to the world, a different way of thinking and feeling and appreciating about those perspectives that in the past we would have said, yeah, that's a bunch of crap. And now we're saying, oh, that's interesting. Just because of that different, that change in vibe, that one little thing shifted it.
Yeah. And the other thing that's really powerful that I hadn't noticed I was doing was that when I don't push against something, so let's say, someone came up, we were eating dinner and someone heard me say, we're just returning to Eden. We're just going back to the place where families started, which was in this beautiful, harmonious, unified state. This beautiful young man came up to me and he asked me very, very kindly, but very, very seriously, have you ever heard of heresy? And so I'm sitting there, my husband is like going, oh no. And so this beautiful young man in his 20s, totally in love with his ideas, his belief. And I felt his heart. He felt my heart. And I said, I have heard about it. I love heresy. I think heresy, the energy of heresy, is so important to our healing. Would you like to know more about that? And all of a sudden he just literally didn't know what to do, because see, I met him in a space of unconditional love and understanding. And I said, I would love to know when you heard me say the words, we're just returning to the beginning when everyone understood who they were and we were just having a great time. You heard heresy. You heard something else. Now, I would love to know from your perspective what you heard, how it felt to you. And now we're having this conversation. And now I wonder what it feels like to have the conversation with me. So it's that beautiful 8, right? It's this infinity thing. And by the time 10, 15 minutes later, see, he thought he was going to change my mind or have me worry about going to hell or whatever that was. And instead, I met him with just another perspective. Now, out of the corner of my eyes, that young man left the building. I looked and I heard, and I kind of felt him, but I saw him shake his head like, what just happened? Right? I was trying to get her not to go to hell, but I think my mind just exploded. Like, I don't know what just happened, right? And so it really is meeting everyone in this non-judgmental, loving space, knowing his soul and my soul are just mirrors of a facet of a soul. So I was excited. So now I'm excited when people come up to me and have a word about my belief or my thought or my energy or something. And I just love having the conversations because they're the ones who leave a little bit more expanded. They didn't expect that, right? Mm-hmm. So that's just an example of when people come and they really need to be right. They really need their little box of beliefs to be held together. And I say, I love that you have a box, and because I was in my box too, but I'm going to give you a little bit of a key, because you can actually walk outside of that box anytime you want. And that is like, what is she saying? What is she talking about?
Right? What is, speak that in English, will you?
Yeah. And so the love was flowing no matter what his beliefs were and what mine were. The point was, we connected in the energy of love. And that is what humanity is practicing. See, there's this beautiful dress rehearsal going on. Mm-hmm. We're just bringing the energy of love back online. And what I realized was, can I hold the terrorist, the tree, and the trauma therapist in the same space? That energy, because I have been a villain. I have been a tree. I've been a trauma therapist. I have been those energies. I've been all of those things. And can I hold them all and say, it's all sacred? It's an experience. It's an evolution. And we're all in it together. So if I look at the so-called villains of the world right now, fill in a blank of any system, I say to those villains, thank you. Thank you for the contrast, because I am the contrast to their contrast. Mm-hmm. We're all contrasting. So I don't see villains and victims and heroes. I see sacred family.
It's interesting also that as you're describing that, I'm of course, my mind is exploring all kinds of interesting adjunct ideas along the way as you're describing what you're describing. And among them are, referring back to the comment I made at the beginning of the show, how we're going through this enlightenment period, and it's happening to everyone regardless of whether they want it to happen or not. This is kind of what I was referring to. I mean, you just described a really nice illustration of exactly how that works. You had this young man, he had his own thing, he had his own perspective. His perspective got jarred because he got hit with a perspective he had never experienced before, didn't know what to do with. It kind of, upset his apple cart a little bit, and he walked away trying to figure it out. That's what I mean when I say it doesn't matter whether you want it to happen or not. It's happening anyway. Deal with it. That's all you can do, is deal with it. There's no other option at this point.
Yeah, and I noticed with families, and this is another question that's coming up in the collective consciousness, and it's this idea of, what if my family doesn't want to heal? What if everyone doesn't want to come on the journey? What if we're not matching energetically? What's going to happen to my children, my animals, my grandchildren, my mother, whoever it is, right? And so this happened literally in my own family, this process I'm about to chat about. And we hold, have you guys ever seen the movie Home? It's an animated series with the Boov. And my granddaughters, we watched it 7,545 times. And so one of the things that I started tearing up with the very first time I saw it was when this beautiful little Boov alien was talking to the little girl as she was trying to find her mother again. And he said, "You're sad, mad." And it hit me that humanity is sad, mad, that we are a combination of just so mad because we've amassed a lot of rage and hurt and all this kind of stuff. And we're also so sad. There's a lot of grief, right, around this illusion of separation. So we are here healing grief. We're also healing from homesickness. This reminded me whenever our little girl went on her little overnight when she was 12, and she's like, "I'm disoriented. I don't know where I am. I don't know who to trust. I feel so alone," and all of that. And I'm like, well, that's homesickness. And then it hit me. Download. Humanity is homesick for the vibration of home, for the vibration of love. And so one of the things about family that was so important to me is I now understand through my own inner discovery that not all of the family members that I came in here with in the 3D are interested in the process of awakening and ascension. There are 3 reasons why people in your life, as sovereign beings, remember, we're all sovereign and we're not here to fix, change, or save anyone. This is our journey. So as a compassionate witness, I noticed 3 things in my family and in other families that I've seen over the last almost 40 years. There are 3 reasons. The first reason that someone in your family may say, I'm not interested in your woo-woo. I'm not interested in your quantum physics. I'm not interested in your thoughts, really, at this point. Well, it's because the soul says, I'm still here learning about 3D, 4D stuff. I truly am not where you are. So I'm going to just hang here and hold some contrast, right? I'm just going to be in my soul blueprint, my soul contract. Oh, nice. The second thing I noticed in tapping in was that there are other parts of our family that has no real trauma or karma really, but they came in to hold the space of the villain in our lives. Why? So that we could get to our mission. They're holding it for us. And then the third thing I noticed is this, we've heard the story of the very hungry caterpillar, right? Read it a million times to my granddaughters and on my own children. There are caterpillars in our world that are so deep in the heavy energies. They've incarnated over and over and over and over again. And they're so afraid, the fear, familiar energy aligned with resistance, the terror, the fear, the anguish is so heavy that the thought of them moving into unfamiliar, unknown, uncertain, way too overwhelming. They will double down on the shadow. I know this cave. I know how dark it is, Plato's cave. I know where I am. I'm okay where I am. So my encouragement to families is to know you're beautiful, brilliant, and brave souls of your family. You guys chose to come in, you little cuties, together. Constellations, combinations, configurations. Woo! We're all here doing our thing. They're going to be fine. They are sovereign. They know what they're doing. So you go through a process of letting go, surrendering them to their journey, and appreciating them from the perspective of a compassionate witness, knowing that when you sleep, knowing when you're on the other side of awareness and the non-physical, you guys are dancing out there. You guys are still there, still together in spirit. But when they're in your face, when they're at your wedding and they're causing trauma, it's hard to get into a more expanded perspective. So I just share that with everyone so that if you're worrying about, well, now I've gotten there and I want my family to come and what's going on, those who are in your energy field, including children and animals, no, there's no soul being left behind here. That's the other thing. There's this idea that some of us will come and some of us will go and we don't have the control and all that. No, we have control. Some of us will decide to stay in the space they're in to learn. That's all it is. Or hold the space for us to move. That's love. That's what they're doing. So I give that as hope for anyone who's saying, well, I don't want to go without fill in the blank. Well, you're not. Everybody's just in a different part of the journey.
It's a different part of the jigsaw.
What was that, Anne-Marie?
I said it's just a different part of the jigsaw.
Of the jigsaw.
Yep. Yep.
But the thing is your energetic keys are still making that difference, whether they're willing to accept it or not. It filters out, it ripples. And
it does.
You see behavior changes without even realizing. I can see that in my own immediate family. I see that change, that they're not studying it.
Agreed. So our subconscious and their subconscious, actually our conscious, now that we're awake, we've got our conscious and subconscious and heart chakras and chakras open, and we're just beaming out, the force, whatever, the love. And they're like, what's happening? I don't even know what's happening, right? But we are rippling and we are healing generations before and future. Why? Because quantum physics is real and we are rippling it everywhere. And so in this now, as Walt and Anne-Marie and Dr. Kelly, we are literally healing the family line that we chose to come in and heal the trauma and karma and unlock our genius and our wisdom. And remember that we're all just, I think we're surfing each other home on the waves. Well, I don't think this walking each other home, that's a little slow for me. I'm like, we're dancing. You guys remember, what was that song or what was that movie, Beetlejuice, right? Remember at the end where where she's like, hey, turn on the music, and the music starts and everybody starts lifting in the air, and I'm like, that's us, we're surfing and we're dancing into the vibration of home, creating this new unity consciousness. And we can do it in joy. We can do it with love. We can do it from an expanded perspective. And our families are waking up faster than you can imagine. Even if the mainstream media and all the medias and all the streaming services and all of the stuff that we're seeing is saying, hey, everybody's still caterpillar-y, right? I'm here to tell you, within your own personal experience, that is not true.
Yeah.
We are in the chrysalis part of the journey. Most of humanity is like, I'm liquid, I'm melting. What is happening? Everything's changing, polycrisis, whatever you want to name it. Everybody's like, I don't know what's going on. They're just in the turbulence in that chrysalis energy. And that's okay. That's okay, because that's part of the journey. It's not the pleasant part necessarily, unless you find a guide on the side that can help make sense of it for you. But that's what we're here for. That's what this show is for.
Well, that's
right?
what some of us do. We are looking for our own guides. We try to become guides, but we also are looking for our own guides, trying to get, some sense out of what the heck is going on with this world that we live in.
Right.
And the really cool thing is the more that we listen to other people's perspectives, this is where I bring the perspective thing in over and over and over and over and over again. The more we listen to other people's perspectives, the clearer it becomes. And I've made the comment many times, the perspectives I learn from the most are the ones I disagree with the most, which has both simultaneously pissed me off and enlightened me at the same time.
Isn't it great that energy, the polarity of the energy? Because that's really, we're already masters of energy and creation. We just haven't been in this personality and this body and this time and this space. So this is new to us. Fresh canvas, baby, fresh canvas. And everyone, when you look at the world right now, I think we're the Navy SEALs of the universe. I think it takes tremendous courage to come parachuting into this cray, right? And go, we are powerful enough to heal it all. We're powerful enough to balance the karma. We're powerful enough to love our family, to love the people in our lives. And we're going to do it. And we're going to dance our way and just, surf our way into the vibration of 5D. And the shadows, hey, I call this shadow dancing, because remember that song, Shadow Dancing? We can dance with our shadows and love them. I think for me, we just learned to be so afraid for so long. Fear was all, I just was saturated in fear for 57 years. I couldn't figure out what that was. And when someone said to me someday, Kelly, what brings you joy? Because you want to get to the vibration of joy. And I looked at them and I said, I have no idea. Well, what does love feel like in your body? I don't know. It dissociated from jump, almost conception, I've decided. Well, what does happiness feel like or look like? I don't know what you're talking about. Do you want to talk about darkness, fear, violence, unspeakable events, shame, blame? You want to talk about that stuff? Oh, I can tell you what that feels like. But if you're going to ask me the other part of this journey, I'm going to have to go with, I don't know, but I'm going to find out, because I own my shift. I own my BS, right? So I had to start again at 57 and say, what do I believe?
Which is a great question to always ask, no matter what age you are. I don't care if you're 1 or 99. It's a great question to ask, because when you ask that question and you answer it honestly, that's when you get insight.
Yeah, I don't know what I believe, because I picked up everybody else's belief. One of the big questions through my whole life was, who do I have to be for you right now?
The people pleaser viewpoint. I love it. Yeah.
It's funny because my dad very much worries about my girls. He's like, what kind of world I really worry about them? What kind of world are they in? Blah, blah, blah. And I think he thinks I'm slightly crazy, but I would just go, that they'll be fine. It'll be a fine world. It'll be a lovely world. And I'm giving them the tools they need for it. I'm coaching them in that way. And I'm not sure he gets it, but it doesn't matter. It's just like, that's my problem. Don't worry about it. I'll take that.
Well, no, and what I've noticed, so I had 2 guides that came into the physical, and they are my 2 granddaughters. And so with the granddaughters and the children that are coming in, as I color with them and ask them what makes their heart smile, that's the question I ask myself every day. That's the question I ask them when they come over and play and we do things together. And the conscious awareness that they are holding on to and the wisdom and the genius that they have, I listen to very carefully. They are my guides. The children are our guides. The animals they adopted us, right? And so our guides on the sides in the physical world, if we're tapping in, is the children whose light has remained on. Now, I've worked with severely traumatized children. That wounded healer, wounded child, wounded healer, working with wounded children, right? And so what I didn't realize I was doing that was even with the 50 to 60 minutes, because I knew they had to go back into their foster care environment or their home environment or whatever the environment was, that what I call the shark tank of energy, right? So all I had was this sacred space to create. Now, I didn't realize that's what I was doing, but I was able to tap into that beautiful, what I call glow. And so now I've created something I'm going to give away here soon. It's called It's Glow Time. And what it is are the steps that we as parents, grandparents, anybody around children can take to keep the light on in our children's eyes, the light, the heart chakra open in a world that seems to be unsafe, right? So it's a process. We're building the bridge. We are the light bearers, the way showers, whatever is, pick a name, pick a label. We really love the stories, don't we, in the labeling? But for me, we're just love light in this beautiful technology, body, mind, and spirit, sharing, right? So I have a devotion to traumatized children that grow into traumatized teens, that grow into traumatized adults, that grow into traumatized families, right? It's an echo. So my vision that I hold every day and imagine, actually, I've seen this vision many times. We've already healed. There is a version of humanity that is waiting for us to just dance our way straight into it. And that's what this part of the timeline is about.
I like that you brought the concept and the topic of children into it for a number of different reasons, not the least of which I've long advocated the idea that children have a lot more to teach us than we have to teach them. And I make it a practice whenever I'm around children to just pay a lot of attention and interact with them, of course. And when I do this, they tend to kind of swarm me. So you also have to be ready for that side of it. But I love interacting with children and getting their perspective on things because of how much they have to teach, because of how much they have to share. And they do it innocently. They do it openly. There's no pretense. There's no agenda. They just, this is what it is. This is what I feel. This is what I'm experiencing. This is what I'm thinking. And the clarity of thought, the clarity of belief, the clarity of appreciation it's inspiring, really. My friend Joel Elston, he and I will be doing another episode in another few hours from now. He has worked a lot with children in the foster care system. He's helped find forever homes for many of the ones who couldn't find homes for them because they were the worst cases, the trouble cases, and so forth.
Right.
And the thing that he loves to remark on is how when you explain to them how the world actually works, how the universe is actually structured, they get it so fast.
Right.
And they apply it, 100 times faster than any adult can. Instant turnaround on the spot. In a way that it would make an adult's head spin at how fast they're able to make that shift.
Well, they're coming in with higher consciousness. They're actually, the souls are coming in with from where all souls are born. And so, in other words, the quality of light and awareness is rising with every generation so that we can build the world that we know exists already in unity and harmony. And so these are the children, they're able to hold on. So I have seen children as young as 2 and 3 use their words, and their mommies and daddies will say, well, this is the way this works. And they say, no, it's not. They're not buying the BS. They're not seeing their parents as the ones who know everything, Mm-hmm. And so when parents look at me and say, what is going on? What's happening? And I say, well, they are actually functioning at a higher awareness than we are. And that's a great thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is. And it's
Yeah.
a great opportunity. That's why I always look at it as an opportunity. Anytime that I have children around, I want to interact with them. I want to hear what they have to say. I want to learn what it is that they have to tell me, because there's so much that they have to tell us. All we have to do is listen. All we have to do is just open the eyes, open the mind, open the ears, and listen.
Well,
and
the
when
other
we do,
thing
we get amazing stuff.
Yeah, the other thing they're doing is they're recalibrating our energy centers. So think about it this way. So their little energy is giving us a little boost too. It's that home frequency, right? That highest frequency. So when we're with children, that's why we light up so much. So their energy and our energy is just doing that beautiful dance.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it feels so good. They're recalibrating us, we're recalibrating them, right? And so that's the beauty. Animals do the same, trees do the same, water, all of that. So
yeah. This is quite an interesting conversation to have. We have it often in many different ways, in many different forms. As I mentioned before, I love perspectives. I've been enjoying your perspective, Dr. Kelly, because you have a very definite approach to what you've taken to understanding all of this and to structuring it in a way that works for you and can definitely work for others. And it's a structure that not only has it become effective for you, it's become a joy for you. That's what comes through. The joy of it comes through. And which, of course, is the ideal kind of structure, because any kind of structure that helps us feel joy, that puts us in the flow. That's when we're feeling the right vibe. That's when all the good stuff's going to happen. So I'm appreciating the way that your structure works for you so beautifully in that way.
Well, and for me, the mission is to help families transform fear into freedom. So I am free, I am joyful, and it's my regular vibe. So regardless of what person, place, thing, situation, circumstance, or condition arrives in my field of awareness, I imagine myself getting my popcorn, my peanut M&Ms, and my Diet Coke to watch the show, because now I'm really interested. What have I just called in to learn, to grow? Or this was where those 7 superpowers come in, right? That I started to notice in people. Oh, wait, is this helping me refine my belief? Is this helping me discover something? Is this helping me explore something? Is it helping me integrate something, navigate something, transform something? Or my favorite, is it helping me co-create something that will benefit all that is?
Well, I just realized I wanted to ask you something earlier on and I forgot to, but the doctor part of Dr. Kelly, what's the doctorate in?
So the doctorate is a PhD in psychological foundations of education, but it was really statistics. So I'm a researcher by training. So you can imagine when I had the opportunity to awaken spiritually, that my scientific mind decided to go no for a little moment until I could put my beautiful ego and my body and mind and spirit all in the same space to have a conversation about. I call those the ego diaries. I had quite a wonderful time getting to know my ego, but it was just afraid. It was just afraid. I understood that. He kept, I call it a he for some reason, but it kept hearing in the spiritual language that the ego had to die. The ego had to die. So in the diaries, as I was writing, what are you really afraid of? Where's the fear coming from on this particular situation? They said, well, you're taking in information. It's saying I've got to die. And I really listened to that. I was like, oh, no, you're sacred. There's no ego death. There's ego dancing together in integration and love and harmony. Would you like to be part of the harmony team? Because ego, the human mind, the human ego, the body, the spirit, the soul, how about we just do team harmony? You want to be a part of that? And so I imagined everybody with a t-shirt, team harmony. And anytime ego starts to come in, I'm like, where's your t-shirt? That's why I was asking Anne-Marie about your t-shirt of the Foo Fighters and what your t-shirt was, because I just, harmony, team harmony, right? And I, to this day, having done that kind of silly but fun visualization and using my imagination, now my ego dances in harmony.
Love that.
Very cool.
Because your ego's there just to keep you safe. You've just got to reteach it. Yeah. And I like you, I just have these separate parts of myself.
Right.
And I think that's, and like, so that whole team harmony.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally cool.
That is cool. I also like how when I the reason I asked for what your educational background was, what your degree was in, and so forth, is I like the part of the story where I learned how somebody who came from a scientific perspective found their path to where they are at this point. And it's always a different story. I mean, there are certain commonalities to it. There have to be, just because of where you're ending up. But the routes are quite varied. There really are innumerable numbers of possible routes. And every one of them has this really interesting curve to it. I don't know how to describe it just yet. I think I need to talk to more people here on the program who have come from a very strong scientific background before I can totally formally describe it the way I want to. But what I can tell you about it so far is that it's a very carefully structured approach, because that fits the scientific mindset. And that's what you've done. You have this beautifully structured approach that just it answers all the questions the way you need to answer them. It helps you get to the vibrational space you need to be into. It helps you to behave with others the way you need to behave with others. It helps you to accomplish all those things. And it's all through this very carefully molded structure that you have. It's really quite admirable how you put that together.
Well, I love my mind and my masculine energy. And now that I've been able to restore my feminine principle and my feminine energy and balance the two, I'm very grateful for both aspects. Mm-hmm. And I did this through surrender to my higher guidance. These are beautifully downloaded wisdom from an expanded version of me and my guides and angels. And believe me, the very first time I had anything come through that didn't sound like me, I thought I was having a psychotic episode and I needed to go to the hospital, which wouldn't have been my first time, right? And so I'm like, well, damn, these people are on speed dial for me. So let me just check myself in, right? But once I really understood what this was, I'm like, oh, this is so much more fun. What? Where is this? This is why I want it all in families, and they can do this themselves. And then by the time children get to kindergarten, they're teaching the teachers, right? Because we're going to have to do this a little bit differently. But the children will come in, and this is all by divine design and timing. Everything is fine. Everybody's where they need to be, doing what they're meant to do. So just take a breath and just play, be more playful, find your joy. I just set loose my caterpillars that I turned into butterflies. I do this every year. I create butterflies. And actually, divine creator creates butterflies, but I'm part of the process to bring the chrysalises in and love them and talk to them. And they stay on my finger for a while, and we have a conversation, and then they fly away. I just finished doing that before I came on here. Talk about joy. That's where I found my joy. I ordered a kit online to how to make butterflies. And that's when I found the energy of my joy. That's when I could feel it. And so now that I knew what it felt like for me, now the hunt for joy every day, that's what I do.
So the book is called What's Going On With My Family? What's going on with where we can find what's going on with my family?
You can go to onesacredfamily.com. Just go there. All my information's there. You can reach me right there. So come, let me know how you're doing. Let me know what you're struggling with. I'm happy to step into you, surf the waves, dance straight into the you that you have been waiting for, right? And your family is beautiful, brilliant, and brave. Navy SEALs of the universe. Remember that. And the last thing I want to say in encouragement is, within every traumatized family lies a hidden power, a sacred potential waiting to be remembered and awakened.
That's really good. Anne-Marie, I always go to you on this. Give me the number one takeaway for you this week. What's the foremost idea on your mind that's come out of today's conversation?
Being the wave. I just finding the joy, being the wave, just beautiful things. But again, it's acceptance of everybody and your perspective on it, and just taking the beauty and appreciation from your family. Just focus in a different direction, focus in a more holistic way, focus in a way that you can view them without judgment, and it will instantly improve.
Yes.
Really good. I love that. One final thing that I want to do, Dr. Kelly, before we part company, is to share with you something I've been making it a practice to do for the last couple of years. I noticed a couple of years ago that with all the guests coming onto the program, there were so many great stories. People have been through all kinds of traumas and so forth and come out the other side. They had these great tools they discovered and ideas and things they wanted to share with the universe. And so they were coming onto the program. And not only onto my program, they were coming on to thousands of other podcasts, and they were blogging, they're going to social media, they're doing all this stuff. And there's a whole bunch of people who are consuming all of this material that they've never met, they've never seen, and they don't get thanked for it. And I said, well, let's see if we can change that. So on behalf of those people you've never met, Dr. Kelly, you've never seen them, but you've been reaching them through your book, through your podcast that you do, through all the different ways that you've reached out. On their behalf, thank you for what you're doing, because you are also making a difference in this world.
Massively.
Thank you for that. Greatest blessings to you guys and what you do, and to your families. Ride the wave, be the wave.
Be the wave. Yeah, we're definitely back to the surfer metaphor again. I got to go watch one of the surfer movies again, because I'm sure that's what they're going to say. Be the wave, be the wave. So with that in mind, thank you very much. Thank you, podcast listeners everywhere. We will see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everyone.